Testing 1.
Testing 2.
Testing 3.
Testing 4.
She's got it.
Absolutely
Excellent.
brilliant.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Testing Podcast, and we are delighted to be welcomed by the wonderful Bev Kimminau. Did I pronounce the surname
You
right?
did. I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
That's why I didn't do the introduction.
Oh,
So I knew I messed
I
up.
was like,
Welcome to our podcast,
You
Bev.
coward.
It's all,
Thanks,
it's all out
Toby.
now on air.
where does Kimminau come from?
Germany.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's actually a small town in Germany called Kimminau.
Oh, right.
Although my husband's 50% American, because actually they all went over to America during the war.
There we go.
Nice bit of history to welcome to the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
that's,
you
that's
go.
not
Yeah.
what we're here to talk
The
about.
next question is, can you spell it?
What, me or you?
No,
I think it's IT, isn't it?
no, it was YOU was what I was going to say.
Very good. Yeah. I think we'll move on to what we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah,
but
this podcast is all about tackling fertility and talking all things fertility, not
not
where
how to
names
spell
originate from.
surnames.
Yeah, or spelling of said names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Bev, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Very
And
well.
you've just started a new role
Yeah.
that we've been chatting about. Well, just now when we're recording this, who knows when this is going out. But yeah, you've just moved to Bourne Hall.
Yeah.
The home of IVF.
The home of IVF
That's
and
where-
the place where I wanted always to work.
Okay,
Wow.
so if any of your previous employers are listening,
Yes.
oh well.
You've lost her there.
You've lost me. Yeah. So, I mean, I've always had a vested interest in Bourne Hall because John Webster obviously was part of the Louise Brown, years ago and her creation. And John Webster was actually involved in my IVF treatment from a personal perspective as well. So he was my consultant during my IVF journey.
Oh,
So I've always
very-
had a bit of a
that's like a
part
full
of me.
circle.
A
Yeah,
personal soft spot.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow.
I can get why that's got a special
Yeah.
piece in your heart to
Yeah,
join there, isn't it?
yeah.
So what a lovely place to be now, being the
Yeah.
other side.
Yeah, and
having
it's
had the
lovely.
experience.
John's presence is very much in Bourne Hall, and so it's great. It's great to be back where he was and to know John from a professional, but also from a personal basis as well. Because obviously, I went from, or where I started my world in IVF was actually at Care Fertility, working with John back in
Wow.
Nottingham, way back when we were still at the Park Hospital over there. So not only did I know him from my own treatment, but I also worked with him professionally as well.
Oh, that's
Fantastic.
incredible.
That's
So
really
yes,
special.
the full
isn't it?
circle,
Yeah.
full circle.
Brilliant.
That's really
Oh,
nice.
that's really amazing. And what's your role now at Bourne Hall?
So my official title is Nursing Development Manager. And I'm going to be responsible for setting up a satellite unit in Stamford, which we're opening in the middle of July, which is going to be a very bespoke nurse-led service, hopefully engaging with people from the Lincolnshire communities, and particularly from the military as well. We are RAF Lincolnshire. And we always have been, so there's a lot of people out there that we need to get a lot of messaging out to, particularly with the military being male dominated. This is obviously my passion, with male fertility. So that's part of my job. The other part of my job is looking at improving of patient pathways within Bourne and improving the patient experience. So this is about how we help couples and get the best out of it for them.
It's about quality of care, then,
Yeah,
isn't it? Really?
absolutely. Yeah.
Carrying right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And not to age you, because you don't look anywhere near old enough, but you've been in the industry for
how dare you, Ian?
a few years.
Well, if we work out that my daughter, who was born out of IVF, is 22 now, and I started just after she was born.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. A reasonable
Is
amount of
reasonable
time.
amount of time, yeah.
20 plus years.
You should
Amazing.
know what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think I should. Yeah.
So I think the number of fantastic experts like you that we've had here that have got that depth of knowledge and experience in the industry. I almost always ask the same question. It's like, what's changed in 20 years? And so what have your roles been over those 20 years actually as well?
Oh, crikey. So Care Fertility was where I first started. So I was involved, I was actually an egg donation coordinator there. So it was very much about dealing with donor eggs as it was then, and recruiting donors, both egg sharers and altruistic. It was great, loved it. Then the law changed and it had a huge, huge impact on the recruitment of donors. So I felt I wanted a little bit more out of life, really, with regard to that. Moved to Nurture. When it was part of the Nottingham University. I was nursing and ultrasound services manager there for a number of years. And then had a bit of a sidestep into the world of commercial stuff, which is where I think you and I first met.
More than likely, yeah.
When I was head of Fertility UK and Europe for Healthcare at Home, looking at their fertility arm there, which gave me a different angle on fertility and on the fertility business side of things, which was great. But I missed my clinical work, really missed my clinical work, and so stepped back into it. Did a little bit outside of fertility for a while, just to get a broader knowledge really of the health sector, and then joined Cambridge IVF a few years ago and was the matron of that unit for a while. And
Matron.
Then,
This is such a
matron.
scary word.
I
isn't it?
always think that. It sounds really like,
Really
what is it,
strict.
Hetty Jakes or Hattie Jakes? Hattie Jakes?
Hattie, I think.
Hattie
wasn't it?
Jakes.
Yeah,
Hattie
yeah.
Jakes. Now I'm showing how old. You should know this, Michael.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
Don't bring me into it.
Yeah,
about
the
age and,
young man has
you know.
has
He
no
looked
idea
at
what's
me
going on.
completely blankly
no
as if
idea.
to say, yeah, look
Got
at
no
him.
idea.
Seriously, I have
Yeah.
no idea,
Yeah,
Bev. What are you talking
I
about?
just nod and go,
Yes,
yeah, okay,
yeah.
Just agree
You'll
with
look
me.
it up
Yes,
afterwards.
yes, matron.
Yeah.
Matron
Yes,
Bev.
matron. Carry on.
I hated it. Hated that title. Obviously, did quite a lot of development work there, and then have subsequently left and a little bit of ultrasound work. And then now I'm at Bourne Hall.
Yeah, it's quite a varied career, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
quite a variety
Yeah,
of
I've
stuff.
been around a bit.
Yeah.
That is not what I said.
That's what you implied, Ian.
Oh my God, I'm going to come out bad in this episode. Oh no, this is not fair. You threw me under the bus here. Ian, you do the intro.
You crack on. I knew it was coming. I
You
spoke
knew
to
the
Ben before
matron.
this. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
You can crack on. So what got you interested in this whole space then? What was like your drive into this space?
Into fertility or male?
In generally in fertility and then, subsequently into male fertility.
Because of my own journey.
Yeah.
Because of my own journey and the battles that I had with regard to, mine was secondary fertility. So my son was conceived naturally.
Yeah.
We then tried for a couple of years and we were very much dismissed. You've got one. Why do you want another?
Yeah.
And how often do we all hear that? You know, you've got a child.
should be thankful
you should be
for having-
thankful
Be
for
grateful for
having
that.
and you know, I hate it when I hear those words because if you've got that desire to have a child, that should never be questioned by anybody, at all.
I agree.
And so I think one of the keys for me was for 5-6 years, my secondary fertility was undiagnosed because I was not tested correctly. It transpires that I'd actually got Graves' disease, which is an overactive thyroid. And it was completely, I was never going to, I was completely overlooked, was not tested. And it's that was the cause of my secondary infertility. As soon as they got that sorted, so I had 2 rounds of IVF that failed without testing.
Yeah. Gosh. Wow.
And
How often do we hear this?
Yeah. And it's just the same story repeated over and over and over again.
Well, we're normally talking about it from a male perspective.
Yeah.
So, female testing is generally better, but this is obviously a thyroid issue that often gets
Overlooked. And it's, one of the keys now, a lot of organisations do actually look at that. But we're talking a number of years ago, but this was my journey. But you asked the question as to what drove me into this. Well, actually, it's that, the fact that the knowledge and what's actually out there for couples is quite limited at times.
Yeah, and there's a lot of variance, isn't there, around the country, depending on where people have been trained and where they've come together as a team, and then looking at the standardisation within teams. There's huge amounts of variability, isn't there?
Huge. So we
it's
had
hard
to
to
step
navigate.
away and just sort of say, right, well, I needed a year on medication to be able to get it sorted. Managed to get it sorted. Next round of IVF, bingo.
Bingo.
There you go.
Get it done.
There you go.
And she's here
Yes.
in all her glory.
22.
22, yes, 22. And I'm older and much greyer. I'm not any wiser, I have to say.
I'm sure there
It
is
sounds like you
wisdom
are, though,
there.
to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
That's exactly why you're here, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
you've been there on that hard step where
Yeah.
infertility is a real battle.
And I think for me is that it's that personal association with it. It's, if a patient says to me, you don't know what it feels like, actually, I do. I really, really do.
Yeah.
And I've been sat in that chair. I've been on that journey. I've had that phone call of, I'm sorry, your test is negative. So I know, I can completely empathise. And I hope that comes across when I'm delivering patient care. You know, I'm very much conscious of, well, how did I feel?
Yeah.
What would have made it better for me?
Well, knowing you, that's what you're really passionate about, isn't it? Is about good patient care and making sure that people explain, you know, that you explain what's going on, what the test results mean, what the options are, what else they need to consider.
And it's looking at the whole picture. You know, we professionals have been historically really bad at just looking at one part. So it's always been female driven, you know, what's wrong with the woman, what's wrong with the woman. And it's about opening up people's vision now and actually say, well, this is 50-50 here. It has to be that whole mixture rather than just looking at the females.
Yeah.
And how do you think that's kind of going? How, you know, especially again, if you know, 20 years in the industry, how do you feel that narrative is going around male fertility and involving couples and better education?
It's much better than it was. I think we've got a very long way to go. But the more that we can actually do about getting the voice out there, getting the knowledge out there. Men are notoriously bad.
I know. Well, there's
All three of you.
All right, mate. Terrible. Okay. This is the matron coming out now,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like, all three of you are some naughty boys.
We've just lost over 100 subscribers on that.
Sorry. No, what I was going on to say was that you are really bad at actually admitting or opening up
We are.
to anything that isn't actually in your control.
Absolutely. Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
bear our heads.
Yeah, you're all alpha males,
yeah.
no matter how female dominated you are all alpha males fundamentally, and you will never admit that there is something wrong. And so it's about making it possible now for men to say, yes, it's okay to be not okay, or something to be not right. We hear a lot about mental health, and the messaging at the moment is, it's okay to admit that you're not okay. Well, it's the same in male fertility.
Of course it is, yeah.
You know, we need to be saying, it's okay, actually. It's okay if you found a lump. It's okay if you've been trying to conceive. It's okay if your sperm count's not as good as it should be. But we need to address it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the starting point, isn't it? Really, it's acknowledgement, not being in denial, and just going like, actually, I do need to go and get that sorted out, and just having the encouragement to go and see a healthcare professional and go and get it tested. You know, go and get
And manana is not acceptable, men.
No, no, it's not. And that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? Really, at Testive is really trying to encourage people to go and educate themselves, make sure they're more aware about what their own health is doing, and really go and get the right referral to go and get specialist advice.
Empowering us fellas.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's empowering the medical professionals as well. I think this needs to be, it's not just about men going to medical professionals. It's about medical professionals being aware, being educated, so that actually they can start the conversation. Because there are so many medical professionals out there that don't have that knowledge and don't understand, so don't start the conversation with couples.
And you're very passionate about male fertility, aren't you?
I am very passionate about male fertility.
How do you find those conversations go with the man, when you've had couples in front of you?
I think on the whole, it's about talking with them, not talking at them.
Or not talking at them.
Or not talking to them at all about it, I think, And this is about getting their trust, gaining their trust, having that relationship with them. If you've got that, then they are very open to it. Because, when I've done consultations with patients and we're talking about females and the tests that they've gone through, most men are, but what about me? What can I do? And that's so much of a question. Even when patients are going through treatment, I feel I'm just a passenger in this journey. Yeah. Well, they're a passenger right from the beginning. Let's get them on board as well. And if it's about extra testing, if it's about them being more aware about their diet, about their underwear, about their heated car seats, their smoking, the lifting weights, so they're nice, which is fine. But don't take any supplements. That kind of thing. It's about engaging with them, really, because it's almost an unwritten phrase when I say, what can I do? Because they'll just kind of look at you as if to say, I'm here.
Yeah, and often they want a quick fix as well, don't they? Of
course they do.
And
They
you know
do.
that's not necessarily the case. Men need thoroughly investigating as much as women need thoroughly investigated,
Absolutely.
and women do get thoroughly investigated in the majority of the times. And I think medicine has actually improved. We've talked about that in previous episodes and so forth. And it's just a matter of I think just embracing the conversation, understanding their own male health and fertility health, and seeing what we can improve.
Because men are very good at actually doing as they're told. Sometimes.
What's the hesitation for that?
She looked at me as she said.
Well, I did. It's because I know you guys.
Give them clear direction, clear actions,
clear
steps.
clear
goals.
steps. I mean, how many guys do I speak to that actually say, I take all the tablets, as in I take all of the supplements. She puts them out for me in the morning and I do as I'm told, which is great. So, we just need to empower them a little bit more.
Yeah, that's not ownership though, is it? That's not ownership of your fertility if you're just being told to take the supplements.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's about empowering them. And empowering them to talk about it and do something about it. It's no good just taking the supplements because they may be the wrong supplements or they may not, they may be counterproductive in what they're actually taking. They don't know if they haven't got the knowledge behind why.
Yeah. And obviously you mentioned your foray into ultrasound and scanning, so you're a trained sonographer as well, aren't you? So you've done a lot of female scans, but you've also done some testicular scans in your time.
Yes, in my time.
What's that like? That experience and interaction with the man. So Toby, you've had a testicular scan as well, haven't you? It's kind of, I think this is something we really need to break down for men as well, is like, just go and get a scan. We've talked about varicocele on here a lot. We've had Stephen Moser on an episode chatting about varicocele. It's a really simple procedure, but I bet there's been some stories and some discomfort or awkward moments.
Awkward moments. I think it's not necessarily about discomfort. This is about awkward moments. It's that eye contact with a female sonographer. It is, and it's the same. I would feel, and I'm sure there's many ladies out there that would feel exactly the same. There you go, I called myself a lady then. Women out there that would feel exactly the same. An internal scan done by a male sonographer.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And what we need to do as sonographers is actually put ourselves in their shoes. How do we feel if we have a male sonographer and they're doing a transvaginal scan? What can we do to make them feel more comfortable, make it an enjoyable experience?
I know what you mean by that.
Careful.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
I know what you mean by
It's
that.
about that relaxed experience, because the more that we can do that, this is about education. It's about why. Why am I here? Why do I need it? What are you going to find? When you find something, if you find something, what's the next step? And it's about, some of it is about the education of the sonographers as well. If they just, it's like a bit like a sausage factory. We're sort of talking about, well, we do a scan, that's fine, the doctor will get the report, because 99% of the time will be the question, so what's next? You found this, what happens next? And maybe you felt that, Toby, I don't know, that it is because you're on this roller coaster of you're on this journey of, you just want answers.
Yeah, because you're just a rabbit in a headlight, aren't you? I remember when I had my ultrasound scan, I was really nervous about it because just obviously it's a bit embarrassing. But when I did mine, I was thinking, well, Katie's had like way more things that have caused her to be anxious for. I was like, let's just get this done. And my sonographer was brilliant. She was really good. Like we had a bit of rapport built in. We had a bit of a chat, and actually she felt like she held my hand through the process, even though it was just to get an early diagnosis, then to obviously be referred off. But she really, really explained everything the whole time, and that was really nice because it distracted me from the fact that she's obviously looking at my testicles. But actually,
it wasn't your hand she was holding.
It definitely was. But the fact that she was explaining everything about like what she was looking at, the measurements, and I felt really part of it rather than just like sat there waiting for dead
Which
space.
is so important, and it's that dialogue, it's that education, it's that engaging with the patient, because fundamentally you're not unwell.
No.
And you're young.
Yeah, because it's quite weird, isn't it, being in a medical setting?
Yeah,
and you're
you're well.
Well,
and it's that fear, isn't it? It's that fear of the unknown or fear of a diagnosis.
because you are worried about that, aren't you?
you are.
You're in that room. I mean, I was aware that I had a lump, I was quite worried if it, would it have been cancer? Like we were talking before this podcast about how men are pretty rubbish about finding a lump and actually doing something about it. I was aware of this for years. And I'd done that. I'd been that person who was like, I don't need to go, I'll go tomorrow.
Buried your head, hadn't you?
I absolutely did. And it was encouragement from Ian and from the support group and meeting all the professionals that was like, actually, do you know what? This could be quite something either serious or potentially change our outcome, which obviously went on to do. Where was I going with this? But it's, I can't remember where I was going with this now, what we mentioned.
How as a professional to make it an easier process.
Yeah.
That was it. That was
and
the
I think
process.
it's like that pre-sonography, care, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think before you go in and just go into a room, drop your trousers and everything else, it's a matter of, right, okay, let's explain what my role is, what my experience is, what you're likely to expect as part of the process. And then, then you're almost mentally prepared of, okay, this is not a bad thing. Thousands of people need an ultrasound from time to time, and there's a lot of experience in the room, and what you and ultimately what you were saying earlier on is, what is the outcome of today? What is going to happen with the results, and can they be interpreted on the day, or are they going to need to go off to a clinician, and then what's the next steps? But if you can lay all those sort of like concerns and the fear away to one side, that's going to be really important.
But I think also, as medical professionals are very poor at even doing testicular examinations as a routine.
Well, it's not very done. It's not
It's not a done thing.
It's not a done thing.
No, it's not a done thing.
No.
And actually, you talk about everything that Katie went through in your journey, and similarly with mine, it was all focused on me, all on me, which is fine, because that's how fertility has always been perceived. Now is our opportunity to actually broaden that and expand that to male testing right from the very beginning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, including a simple scan,
including a simple scan, or even a testicular examination. And I think fertility has been a real victim of COVID. There's many things that have been victims of COVID. However, we've gone from face-to-face consultations. We've managed the 2-3 years of COVID of virtual consultations. That's become normal practice. That's normal practice now. So you can go through your initial screenings, your consultation, the start of your IVF journey, and get to egg collection and not actually have seen a doctor.
Yeah, and that's a really important point, because there's so many little things that come up, or like, oh, actually, by the way, that you might do in a once you've got that rapport of being with another human being, and actually, if you just look at a guy on paper, so you've had a consult maybe online, you've got a semen analysis, like say that's it, as far as the treatment's gone for the man.
Yeah.
But actually, if you're sitting having a chat and he says, oh, actually, I've got a bit of an ache. Is that something, that might be enough of a little flag if you're having that conversation with somebody, or you've got those regular touch points. They'll say, actually, let's get you to have a testicular scan. Oh, well, look, there you go, you got varicocele, and maybe we should do a DNA frag.
Yeah.
And you're right. I'd never thought about that you don't have as many touch points, perhaps. Or...
You don't. And I think that is really poor. Really, really poor. That actually there's no real, we look purely at a semen analysis, and the semen analysis is only a picture of what that was on that day that semen analysis was done. It's just a capture of that moment in time. It's not what it's going to be on the day.
No.
So do men understand that if they get the flu, or they have an infection, or if that
COVID,
COVID, that will have an effect. And are men aware of that? No, they'll just kind of bury their heads. I've had a bit of a sniffle, a bit of a, and then when we get to the fresh sample on the day, it's not good.
Yeah. It's not fresh.
It's not fresh. There's antibodies in there. Where have all they come from?
Yeah.
So, and I think this goes down to education as well. That actually it's important for men to say, I've not been well. And the reason behind that, men won't realise that means anything unless they've been educated that actually it does mean something.
It's lucky there's a really good platform with loads of podcasts, news articles, a free questionnaire that's kind of filling that education gap.
Oh, it's marvellous.
Can we go? I'd like to go back to the testicular scanning, because I think
we digressed.
No. We do that here quite easily.
Yeah.
But could you talk us through, like, because you're a very experienced sonographer and you're really passionate about this patient care. What would a whole process look like for a guy? Because there will be guys that are listening to this, and we promote our testicular scan service. Like, just go and get it done. Because, oh God, what's it involve? What should they expect? So can you talk us through the process?
Yeah, I mean, it's Toby, you'll vouch for this. It's a relatively simple, painless
Yeah,
process. It's more about, you do have to expose yourself. You know, we are looking at testicles, so there will be the expectation that you will be lying there with no underwear on. And because of the profession, the majority of the sonographers that will actually be performing the scan will be female. And I think if you go in with that mindset, it kind of helps.
Yeah, it's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise. You know, we are a female-dominated profession. That is just the nature of the beast. And it is quite a simple, quick process where a small ultrasound probe will be used that will be slight amount of pressure on the testicle. And what we're looking at is obviously all the vessels, and there will be gel applied. But we will endeavour to keep your dignity as much as we possibly can. And it will be a case of looking at the blood flow on both sides, so both right and left testicle.
And the Valsalva technique, isn't it? Is that right? They have to give it a bit of a squeeze or a push?
Yeah, just so that actually we can see the pressures,
Yeah. And how long does it take?
About 20 minutes.
Okay. Oh, it's a bit longer than I thought.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a bit short for me, to be fair. It's very, very quick.
I would take 20 minutes because I tend to do quite a lot of preamble, as you talked about. I've put a posh word on it, preamble.
Preamble.
Preamble. In
preamble
the
care.
Preamble care. You know, it's important that the chap feels comfortable, that actually I know what I'm talking about, because it's about having the confidence in the person. You know, if I'm dithering around and I haven't really introduced myself and I've not smiled and I've not given them eye contact and I've not given them some privacy whilst they're getting themselves undressed, then you know I've not got them.
You've lost the confidence.
I've lost the confidence immediately. Yeah. So I need now to go back and actually say, right, okay, so this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen today. This is what's going to happen following today. So that actually they've got already that journey. And then whilst I'm scanning, it's about having that dialogue. It's about showing them what I'm seeing as well. Yeah. Because a picture speaks of 1,000 words. It does, You know,
all those sonographer pictures, like I have no idea how you read those. It's just
it's insane, isn't it?
Black and white and grey and various other bits.
That doesn't paint. No bloody words are painted for me when I look at those sort of images.
It's a real picture for me. Yeah, and then when you add a bit of colour to it, it's amazing.
So it's like being an artist, really.
Yeah,
it sees it in a different light.
It is like being an artist, and the right artist.
Yeah. And then it's, as you were saying before, it's about then what happens next.
And what happens next.
And this is what we found with the service that we're offering through Ultrasound Direct. Is actually what we found is I need to pick those guys up and go through the results with them and actually say, okay, this is what this word means. This is, you know, what a varicocele is, and this is what you should do next. Because unfortunately, the service is, okay, we'll refer you back to the GP. And we know what happens there if they go back to the GP. Nothing. So what we do with the scans that we sell is that the guy can have a follow-up with me, and I'll take them through the results, and I'll say, okay, and I'll take into account then the history, the semen analysis, how many perhaps cycles have you had miscarriages. You then put that together with that information, you've got a much better picture of what's going on for that guy.
And I think it's reassuring and it's really helpful for men to understand the terminology as well, because we are so bad. We know what the words mean, and it just comes off our tongues. You know, it's everyday conversation, but men don't. Men don't
they need
understand.
to know what the why is. What is it, and why is it important?
And this goes back to men and having to feel in control. And I don't mean that as, you know, you are all controlling, but it's men are much better if they feel they have control over what's happening.
Well, it's because we like fixing. I think we're creatures of trying to fix things, aren't we? And when you've got like knowledge, power, you can then work towards a plan of how to fix things, can't you?
And it's empowering men as well, isn't it? It's empowering men to say, okay, so this is what we've got, but this is what I can do to make things better.
Yeah. And it all comes back to education, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And education of everybody, not just the couples that are going through it. So medical professionals absolutely need more education. Yeah.
And you mentioned RAF Lincolnshire, because this is where you're based. And this is really good, because obviously we've had, he was a major by the time we edited and put the episode out. Major John O'Neill came on here, and he works for the He's Army major, obviously, and works for the Defence Fertility Network, or set up a organisation to support military personnel. So your daughter is RAF Medical, isn't she?
Yeah, you missed out on the email, actually, that my son is actually a major in the Army.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't realise that as well. Oh, I missed that. Yeah,
Nothing
didn't
to
miss
do with
that.
fertility there, but yeah.
I did email him and say, actually, Ian got that wrong.
Oops.
Yeah, so my son, who was my natural conception, is a major in the Army. And then my daughter is my IVF baby and is a medic in the RAF.
So I've got that bit right. I just missed the other bit.
Yeah, 50% there, Ian.
Yeah, that's always been good enough for me.
Sound for that somewhere.
But so you're quite passionate about kind of helping out the armed services and kind of getting the education in there as well, because that's quite a challenging environment, isn't it, for getting the message through to the men?
It is, because it's male dominated. This is a male-dominated profession. There are females in there, but it is very heavily male-dominated. And the military personnel are entitled to funding through the NHS. Again, NHS England will only fund a certain amount. As we well know, NHS, whatever, will only fund a certain amount of IVF cycles. So it's about education within the military. It's so poorly spoken about. There is an awful lot. There's a big drive, as most, they want to be seen as an employer that supports couples going through the fertility journey. But what's important for us is actually we need to get the message there in the first place.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? I've reached out to Major O'Neill to hopefully try and get some sort of education into the medical centres, so that every base in Lincolnshire, wherever it is, and we are heavily dominated by the military in Lincolnshire. It's about the education. What can we do in the med centre right from the very beginning when you sat in the waiting room? What about an education board? They have health boards, just like GP surgery. It's the same as a GP surgery. Yeah. COPD. Well, this is a chronic illness, and what can we do to educate people? So that's really where I'm trying to drive that. And as part of that, it'll not only be obviously the female fertility, but a lot of it will be about the male fertility. And maybe 1 month about female fertility, the next month about male fertility, so that actually we can start to educate men and see how that impacts on them.
And how do you think we sort of master this education of the men, in the military and generally, and also the medical profession? How do we make the most of this?
I think we need to be very careful not to oversell, because men, well, I think that was very, very feminist, that wasn't it? Sorry. I think we as a nation or a society are really bad at getting fed up with hearing the same thing. It's like coming up. Can I say this? Coming up to the election, I'm fed up with it already. All the manifestos of all the different political people. I'm bored with it already. And if you start hearing the same message drummed home to you loudly, we just switch off. We become deafened to it. And I think it's really important. Just a lot of soft, very gentle subtleties into it is the way forward.
I've always said that with my race campaign. If I would have gone early doors to the media to say, hey, I'm a guy suffering with infertility, can you write me a story? I can guarantee I wouldn't have got any press. Once I said, look, I'm a racing driver, I race around the country risking my life to raise awareness, suddenly they go, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And it keeps that subtle message, that undertone there.
Yeah.
But there's obviously something like a different narrative, such as sport and racing. But it's true, isn't it? We do switch off if we're just getting the same message just heavily bombarded on top of, isn't it?
And I also think it's about putting something out there that people will come and ask.
Yeah.
And this is about taking ownership, intrigue into what's this all about? And then you can have the discussion on their terms rather than you selling them something on your terms.
Well, I think you've done that quite recently, haven't you? You've been doing something that you're very passionate about.
I have. So last year I was suffering with work-related stress, and I decided I needed to do something to unscramble my somewhat messy brain. And so I decided on the 1st of July last year that I would start taking up running. Which, there's a lot of media out there saying that actually running is really good for your mental health. I am absolutely an advocate of that.
It blows your mind. Post-run buzz is amazing.
Oh, unbelievable. The adrenaline dump is just incredible.
Yeah.
So
I think this is one side of the table versus the other side. Well, you've done a bit of running.
I've done a bit of running in the past. Yeah, not enough.
Well, yeah, I was in the gym. Were you in the gym in Edinburgh? Because I was.
No.
I was.
I was still recovering.
Is recovering from being in the
so
bar.
I was still hurting.
I was in the bar.
Yeah, you were in the bar at 7:00. Mark reckons he was there, but he wasn't. Anyway, I digress. So the 1st of July, I decided that I would start the Couch to 5K running app, which was fantastic. I ran my first 5K in September, October last year, which is when I then said, I can do this and I'm going to do a little bit more. So that's when I spoke to you guys and said, can I have a shirt, please? So I now do, or have started to do 10Ks, which I absolutely love. Kills me, but I absolutely love. And as part of that, I'm very lucky to have you guys on board, and I run around with sperm all over me.
Excellent.
There you go, on that bombshell.
Over to you.
But it's been working, hasn't it?
It's been working.
What's been happening?
So people have actually approached me and said, what's this all about? The first time I ran, there wasn't that much. People were pointing fingers and laughing and that kind of stuff. A couple of blokes talked to me about, what is testing? What does it mean? Why have you got sperm all over you? Which gave me the opportunity to just have, again, a very soft marketing conversation with these individuals. The one I've done just last weekend was in a local village, Woodall Spa, again, RAF Lincolnshire, very, very heavily male dominated. And I had a mother of a couple speak to me about her daughter's journey with her partner. And then a group of 4 lads came and said, what's this all about? And there was a lot of conversation of, we didn't know we needed this. And we didn't know it was so important. And then I've also had people talk to me about it and about how can I improve my semen.
And would that have happened 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Absolutely not. Well, I wouldn't have run around with sperm all over me 10, 15 years ago.
No, it's a bit weird, isn't it? When you asked us, I was going, that's a bit weird, but okay, we'll do it.
But look, it's created a conversation.
It's absolutely created a conversation. And I do think that actually any kind of soft marketing within a male-dominated sport, like you with your race driving, men have that testosterone that drives them towards that, which is great. And you are getting that message out there, and I think there's so many opportunities for us to be able to just start those conversations with other people starting the conversations without us starting the conversations. Does that make sense?
It does.
Show them we're there, isn't it?
And then, if people want to know about it, they will find out, yourself. If you want to know about something, the first thing we usually do is actually go tappity tap on Google. And we don't want them to do that. So, and this is about, you're in an environment where people are, for me, in my running world, people are fit, they're young. I'm putting myself under that umbrella and I'm staying there.
So maybe we need to do that with your car as well. Just put some sperm on the car to make it go faster. Because I think, am I not right that you had your personal best?
I did.
Yeah. So my sperm are making me
faster. Much faster.
It's like go faster stripes. These are go faster sperm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good motility.
You'd be the fastest sperm on the track. There you go.
Got good motility and good mobility.
Well done.
Yeah, so I knocked nearly 7 minutes off my PB.
Did you actually? That's amazing.
It's brilliant.
Wow.
Well done.
What, from one 10K to the next?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We need the clap button here. We need the clap
I
button.
don't know where it is. Where it is?
Press one and see what happens.
Oh, hang on. There we go.
Yay! Oh, that's really cool. But you get such a big running buzz after that, I'm sure.
Huge buzz.
You ride it the next day, didn't you? It's amazing. It's the best feeling ever.
Yeah. The only problem I had this week was that I actually had horrendous cramp on Monday.
Magnesium.
Magnesium. Yeah, I did take some magnesium. I did solve that problem.
But you also want some sperm shirts for your bowling. You're into your 10-pin bowling, so you want sperm shirts for that as well.
I want sperm shirts. So I've come actually this.
You're begging ball out.
Begging ball out.
Michael, can we have some of these shirts, please?
I was talking to one of the guys. I was bowling last night, and I was talking to one of the guys very heavily into the RAF again. This is RAF stuff, and he says, you can just see the media headlines here. So this is talking about a team of ladies. So 5 ladies, 10 balls, and a whole shed load of sperm. And I thought that was brilliant.
That's brilliant. That's
It's
a great
absolutely
campaign.
brilliant. Yeah, it's a huge, and again, this is looking at a male-dominated sport. 10-pin bowling is male-dominated, particularly within the military. Particularly within the military. And again, I bowl in RAF tournaments. There's a lot of tournaments out there, and it's about gathering people together and a team of ladies with sperm shirts in with men.
Do you know what?
We're
going to do it. I just love the idea of it.
Let's do that.
Already. I mean, I already sponsor a darts team. I played darts on a Thursday night. They've all had sperm on their shirts, so why not?
Yeah.
Bowling.
Yeah.
So,
Look at us spreading
another sport.
sperm everywhere.
Spreading the sperm.
Yeah,
It's this is kind of, it's the same message over and over and over again. Where
But in a
else
different
can we
way.
but in a different? This is a backdoor messaging. I always call it soft marketing. I don't know whether that's the right terminology or not. But this is about I'm there with a load of blokes, and if they may be older, but I'm sure they've got children, or they've got nephews, or they've got
the ripple effect is huge, right? You drop a stone in a pond and it ripples right out, doesn't it? But actually, all of this kind of stuff, we laugh and jest, and it's a bit of fun. But these kind of things just help us normalize this topic about talking about sperm. The younger generation that might eventually listen to this might feel awkward talking about sperm and testicles and penis and stuff like that. But actually, it's so
normal.
important that we just normalise this. And
it's really funny actually you say that. But for my children, this is a normal dinner conversation.
Yep,
when
same
they
in my household,
and then when they have their friends round and their friends are sat
They're
there,
like,
what? You're talking about this at the dinner table, but it's normal.
Yeah.
Just normal.
Yeah.
And a sperm pen in my car is normal.
It's all right.
Standard. Yeah.
Standard practice.
Yeah.
The fact that I've got testim umbrella, which I talked to you about, know, and the fact that my USB stick is testim. Well,
You are. I mean, I think you're probably one of our greatest champions and advocates, and I think cut through you, it will say test him in the middle. You're kind of
absolutely.
but you're just so passionate about supporting the men, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Which is quite unusual in some ways in the fertility industry as well. Like because you're in it in clinics and working with patients. It's kind of we don't have so many strong advocates like you in the industry, and hopefully that will change.
I think it will. I do think it will. But what we need to do is prove almost that it does have a positive effect, and what that positive effect is, because results speak volumes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And what we need to do is to look as to how we can do it, how we can empower men to feel that they are able to talk about it, to explore what's available out there and what they can do.
Yeah.
And some of it is a relatively simple fix.
Yeah. So what are you excited about now that you're kind of in this new role, back kind of where you wanted to be with that full circle, but not just there, but maybe the industry as a whole, because so much has changed over the last 20 years. And what are you excited about for the next 5-10 years?
More change, more change, more knowledge, more research. I'm quite passionate about research, and it's what is there, what more is there we can do? And for me, this is going back to fundamentals, because the lab and the evolution of all the lab stuff that I don't really get involved in. I know of, but I don't want to get involved with it either. But that's been great. But there will come a point where what we prepare sperm with, or what we culture embryos with, will be as good as it's going to be. The equipment, the equipment is very...
Oh, it's very high tech now, isn't it?
High tech now.
So we're using more and more AI, aren't we?
Yeah,
Artificial
absolutely.
intelligence to predict what's likely to happen. And
but for me, this is about getting the raw materials right.
it is. It's about getting men sorted out properly.
Getting men sorted out, because if we haven't got good raw material, the high end, high tech, AI, and all of that evolution won't make any difference.
No.
Well, there's a big thing about AI that it's only as good as the data you put in it.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was at a tech event actually recently, and they were saying how an AI computer was asked to assess an image, and it was somebody washing dishes, and it immediately assumed that it was a woman, because the data that had been put into the AI was that women wash dishes. It's awful, isn't it?
It's
absolutely
really
terrible.
But it's machine learning, right? So it
Yeah.
learns
Yeah.
what the inputs are, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if you're putting in Duff sperm into AI, it's learning how to work with Duff sperm.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, like I say, we want to fix the sperm in the first place.
Fix the sperm, and that in itself will have a positive impact on the result.
Yeah, it will.
And I feel really passionately about that. And it's about getting that message across to men that actually, if you've got to have fertility treatment, then do something about how you can make it the best you possibly can.
Or potentially stop it happening altogether.
Or stop it happening if you can, if you can.
But it all comes down to that preconception care, education, awareness, and getting the right support, isn't it?
And I think fertility clinics need to be less tunnel visioned about that, in the fact that we had a conversation before this recording that, they may well see a slight drop because of education and natural conception improving, but long term, they may well, numbers may well lift up again. So particularly private organisations need to be less tunnel visioned and actually more holistic.
But it's about the quality of that service provision, though, isn't it? It's about producing good, healthy babies, not just creating a baby.
Yeah,
it's about
that's exactly it.
It's about the health of that offspring and the health of the parents that are going to bring that offspring into the world.
Well, what are fertility clinics there for? They're there to help you get pregnant.
Yeah,
not necessarily sell you IVF.
No, exactly.
So actually, if they were testing the man, treating the man, testing the woman, treating the woman, and they then fell pregnant naturally, they've done their job. And actually they will do incredibly well on their customer rating. And more patients will go there because, actually you got us exactly what we wanted, which was natural conception.
And this is why, I go back to where we started really, is that it's not just about female testing, it's about male testing as well.
Done both properly.
And doing it robustly, not just a semen analysis. It's nothing should ever be just...
It's not just a test. It's not just a test. It has to be holistic, doesn't it? Across
completely.
Every part of that assessment.
But don't forget as well, all these kind of things is, biomarkers for general health. Obviously you want to give the best ingredients to give yourself the best possible outcome, the healthiest baby, etc. But also, there's biomarkers there that could suggest actual male health issues for the long term. If you're successful to have a baby, that would be wonderful. But equally, you want to then live your life as healthy as possible to enjoy the life of your child, and some of these tests can highlight these things.
I agree, but equally on the flip side of that is some of it is not about testing, it's about education, it's about lifestyle, it's about
it's the whole
heated seats,
it's the whole thing, isn't it?
Which I actually didn't know about for a while, but those kind of things, that it's just normal life for some people, but those small changes can make such a difference. And actually it's not a health impact as such, but it does have an impact on sperm.
I mean, in sport, we always look at 1% margins. When I'm at race weekends, we're looking at and analysing data to make tiny increments of changes. That can mean the difference for me being 6th on the grid to winning out of the race and celebrating, covering champagne with everyone, having the great fun.
It's different from sperm, I suppose, isn't it?
A little bit different. But the point is that, small incremental changes can ultimately make the outcome very, very different. My story, my journey was the same from what you're explaining with your secondary infertility is the same as well, right? You get you make those changes, you get the testing to understand what's going on, and then you make gradual changes over time, and then the outcome can be very different.
But I think the key is to make those changes at the beginning of the journey.
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. So the education behind it is there at the beginning. So people don't have to wait the 5-6 years that I did, and obviously with you as well. The beginning, there's 7 years in. It's a huge emotional roller coaster, and so actually, if we can bring that back, forward, back, whatever way, then that's our job done.
Well, I think you're doing amazing work, Bev, and honestly, you're such a great champion for us and what we're doing. We really appreciate your voice in the fertility world. It's going to be really exciting to see what you do at Bourne to kind of up their work around male fertility.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I will champion that.
Yeah, so thank you. Carry on running around with sperm on you and throwing balls around.
With lots of sperm on them as well.
Yeah, watch this space.
Bowling balls with sperm on. Can that be arranged?
Little stickers. Stickers.
Well, I've already got testing stuff all over my bag anyway.
Wow.
But can we get a bowling ball?
Testing bowling ball.
Testing bowling ball. Leave it with me. Shirts first.
Shirts first.
Balls later.
Balls and shirts and bags. Balls, I'll work on it.
There you go. You heard it here.
She's going to be working on those balls.
On the testing podcast. Spermy balls are coming soon. Brilliant. Bev, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, travelling all the way down from Cambridge to come and see us. And yeah, we wish you all the best with your new job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Continue being awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Ta-da.